Hi guys, I made a quick video today. I did the rear rotors on my Impala today, and I did it as an afterthought. I figured while I'm at it I may as well film. Well, rushing through it and running my mouth, I said a few items of misinformation. It's not a 14 millimeter socket, it's a 13 millimeter socket, and you do not use white lithium grease on the pins on the calipers. White lithium grease is good for drum brakes, for the backing pad and whatnot. It's a low heat grease. It cannot withstand the heat generated on disc brakes. I meant to say silicone based brake grease. Okay, so keep that in mind, and excuse me, I apologize about making a mistake during the video, and don't pay attention to what I said there. Thanks guys, enjoy the video. Bye bye. Hopefully it's useful information for you. Take care. Family, Paul Phillips here, Paul Phillips Fix. Today we're doing an '08 Impala rear brakes. I got a power stop drilled and slotted for this. I just put brand new brake pads on here, but one of these rotors were damaged, so I ran them. Just have been gentle on them. I'm not going to change the pads. I'm just going to replace the rotors now with a drilled and slotted power stop. I've used this brand before. I've been very happy with the performance and the durability of them. You're going to need a T30 Torx to loosen that retaining screw on your rotor. Did I say calipers before? I'm sorry. We're changing rotors. If I did say calipers, I apologize. What I'm doing is I'm not going to remove the brake caliper. I'm just going to remove the whole brake bracket so I can get it off. I started on the wrong bolt, my mistake there. You just waste doing an extra step if you're not changing your brake pads, but I would assume you would do your brake pads. If you are doing your pads, you're going to remove the caliper bolts, take your pads out, clean it up, put new hardware in, and get your pads ready. If you are doing the rotors, you need to remove the just the rotors. You need to remove the brake bracket, or pads and rotors. The brake bracket has to come off because you got to remove the whole caliper assembly. That's a 14 mil socket. Thank God I'm not running into corrosion in here. I thought I had just had one get ready to round out, but it didn't. If you have corrosion on your bolts, you may want to hammer on the next smallest size socket you can get on there so you don't round them out. I did my truck, salt tore it up, and I had to actually hammer on next size down socket. I actually used a SAE. I forget what size it was, but it worked. It got the bolt out without rounding it out. Yeah, that bolt is a little funky. They don't make bolts the way they used to, you know. I mean that too. Seems like this stuff is real low-grade shit metal. And now my socket got stuck on there. It's always something. The simple jobs always have some kind of little surprises in store for us. You're going to need something to hang your brakes on. piece of wire hanger or wire tie or zip ties. I got a little bungee cord here I'm going to use. I'm going to try this and see if it works. I usually just cut my videos right to the gist of the work, but this one I figured I'd just film the whole procedure for the hell of it. Before I take this off, I'm going to open my cylinder up a little bit, get an area to see if you can give it a little bit of a pry. There we go. Then when I put that new rotor on, I got room to get it on there. And that should work. You don't want to just hang that because you don't want to strain your brake line, okay? Looks like I'm going to need a hammer. Let me go get a hammer. Servicing your brakes. When you take the caliper off, make sure these pins are well lubricated. You could disassemble it and put white lithium brake grease on there, high temp grease. It's safe for the rubber boots, and you also want to lubricate your contact points a little bit on the pads where they touch. Do not use regular grease. It dries up, actually reduces movement. It's not made to handle that high temperature exposure that the brakes get. All right. Now these are directional with the way I put drilled and slotted on, like I mentioned, Power Stop brand. They're great. I love them. I've been using them for quite a while. I had a set of front rotors last me almost 6 years, and I do an average of about 100 miles a day on the car, so I would say that's good durability. So I got a couple of Mercedes, and I hear everybody praising the Achy Bono, and I'm just going to go with Power Stop on mine. I found a brand that's reasonably priced, holds up well, and I'm going to stick to that. Clean up your back plate here as best you can, and corrosion off. People may freak out. I put never seize on my bolts on brake parts. I will never seize the retainer bolts for the brake caliper bracket. I've never had a set of brakes come apart. As long as they're torqued correctly, it has not been an issue. So I like them to come back apart when I need to work on them in the future. Googled the torque spec on this, and I got 75 foot-pounds on the bracket bolt torque. Same for the front. I'm not going to use a torque wrench. I'm just going to go by feel. I've done these a lot of times, and I'm pretty confident that I can get it without torquing it. I'm not recommending you do that. Do what you feel comfortable with. I'm comfortable with doing it by feel. And like I said, I am putting copper never seize on here. Some people will freak out about that. I may get negative comments. It's what I do. I'm not telling you it's what you should do, but I've always had success with getting things disassembled when I do this. I don't go crazy with it. It's a little dab on there, and it keeps them from seizing up. I live in upstate New York, and road salt is a bitch on things. And I've had things that do not come apart because of it. And I don't want to go through that if I have to pull these brackets off again at another date. Okay? Just an opinion. You know the saying with that. Everybody's got one, right? Like I said, I'm not worried about throwing new pads on here because I'm going to be gentle with this when I first start braking with it, and those pads will seat themselves to the new rotor. I'm not that concerned with it. And this is how simple it is to do brakes on an 08 Impala. Don't spend money going to these garages and take it to the cleaners. Do your own work. Save yourself a lot of money, and you know what? You'll wind up with better parts because you won't get the cheapest shit that you can possibly get from the warehouse at these parts stores. That's what these garages do. They throw the cheapest crap they can get their hands on your vehicle and mark it up like crazy on you. Buddy of mine was getting stuff from AutoZone, Duralast products, front end components. Absolute garbage. They didn't even last 18 months. 16 months his wheels were ready to fall off. He put front control arms on with the I think they had riveted in ball joints on them. He didn't even get 16 months out of them, and it was to catastrophic failure. The front wheels were ready to fall off of the car. That's crazy. I'm not going to put anything with that type of quality on my vehicle. I just did tie rod ends on here, and I went with Moog. One thing I've learned, cheap is expensive. Cut corners on parts, you're going to pay for it in the long run. And that's tight enough. Alright, that's one side done. Now I got to put my Torx bolt in, my retainer bolt. And that's it for that side. Alright, we'll get back to the next side. I wanted to stress on this, do not trust the jack to hold your vehicle up. Use jack stands, work safe. Jacks let loose and you don't want to be under a car when it falls. Always use jack stands. I got jack stands on both sides of this car. The jack is just sitting under there, it's not loaded. I just left it there as another catch should a jack stand slip. So always work safe, take your time, don't rush. Safety always comes first, guys. Now that feels like that's going to round out of me. I'm going to go with a smaller SAE bolt. It can't be 13 mil. Maybe they're 13 mil. Was I wrong? They can't be 13 mil. I know they're not. Oh, yes, they are. I'm sorry. I gave you misinformation. The retainer bolts for the caliber bracket are 13 millimeter, not 14 millimeter. No wonder they felt like they were going to round out. I'm human. I make mistakes. I'm not going to edit that out because then I'd be full of shit. No. Don't do what I do. Make sure you have the right size socket. I'm old and blind now. I can't see anything anymore. I do these little jobs, I'm out of commission. Beats the shit out of me. My back does not like this stuff. I used to love working on cars when I was in my 20s. Go like a bat out of hell on stuff. Now, do a little job, I feel it. But I really can't afford not to do them. I can't afford to take it to a garage and get raped. You guys want me to shut up? And I forgot to bring my hammer over here. Remember, do not strain that brake line. Not a good idea. These rotors have lasted 10 years. I'm pretty good on brakes. One thing a lot of people don't practice, when you come to a stop, either from a high speed or an aggressive stop, and if you stay right where you stop with your foot on the brakes, you're leaving the pad insulating that one area of the rotor, not allowing it to cool evenly like the other areas, and that in turn causes warpage of the rotor. So if you do a high speed or aggressive stop, if you can, move forward a little bit, let that part of the rotor get cool, move forward again, and you'll see that you have your rotors warp less frequently. Practice I learned as a kid, and I do not go through rotors quickly. They last me a ridiculously long time compared to other people I know who don't put as much miles on their cars as I do. They go through rotors like crazy. It's the only true variant I can think of taking place with braking practices, other than the brand of brake equipment they get. But I believe that these would even go to shit if I were to not do that, because it's just metallurgy, not about a brand preference. The metal must cool evenly to not get deformed. I like this longer ratchet, it gives me more leverage. I don't like to go with cheap sockets because they tend to round bolts out because they're crap. They're not manufactured to higher tolerances. But as far as cheap tools, Harbor Freight has been well to me on their breaker bars and their ratchets. Can't beat them for the price. I call them my throwaway tools if I buy like a grinder from them or whatever. But their ratchets and their impact sockets and stuff have a lifetime warranty on them. And you get them when they have the 25 or 20% off sale. You can't beat them. Cannot beat them. I gotta get up here where I give this some leverage here. Okay. That's good enough. And that's good enough. And there you go, guys. That's a part of a brake job. The only other difference is changing your pads out there. Do them yourself. I can do them. You can do them. Everybody can do them. Good luck, guys. Please give a like and subscribe. Feel free to comment and help our channel grow here. Hopefully I can put some things on here that are useful information for you. You take care, and thanks for your support. Bye-bye. I did want to mention, when you are done with your brake job, get in your car and pump your brakes until they get nice and firm and the pedal comes up. You don't want to jump in the car, start it up and throw it in gear. If you just spread your pads out, you push fluid back up into the reservoir. You want to make sure you pump your brakes back up and get a nice solid pedal, or you're going to drive into a wall or someone, and that is not good scene. Okay, guys, bye-bye. One more note, after you snug up your lug nuts, lower the car, don't forget to torque them to spec. I think these are 114. I myself go a little lighter on my torque I only go a little over 100 pounds. Like I said, do what you're comfortable with, and follow the guides. Don't go by what I say. It's just what I do on my cars. I haven't had an issue, but I'm not telling you to do it on yours. I think you'd be much more comfortable if you went with the factory torque spec. I'm not going much under that, just a little bit, but do it in this crisscross pattern. If you fail to torque your lug nuts down, uneven pressure on the brake components can cause them to warp out of shape as well. So always torque them. Never just tighten them down with an impact gun. That is a terrible practice, and I see garages doing that all over the place, and they just basically don't give a shit because it's not their car. So use a torque wrench and your jobs will last a lot longer. You'll see a difference. And that's it, guys. That's it. I'm finally done. I'm finally going to shut up. Take care. Bye-bye.